Guys, this is just a rant, so don't expect any fancy editing, and I'm basically just gonna be regurgitating stuff you probably already heard a million times by now. But what are we doing? And I don't want to completely blame Insomniac or you know what? I don't even know where to shift the blame, but what I do know is that as a fan, this is very disheartening to hear. I mean, Spider Man 2 came out a year ago at this point, and I remember counting down the months, the days, the hours, the minutes, and the seconds until this game released. That's how important this game was. I loved the first game because I loved Spider Man. I loved Spider Man Miles Morales. You don't understand how excited I was for it. I thought that it was going to be a PS5 exclusive, so I got a PS5 just to play that game, and it didn't even turn out to be a PS5 exclusive. The only reason I currently even am a PlayStation player is because of this franchise. The only reason I had a PS4 was because Spider-Man was exclusive to the PS4. That is how much that these games meant to me. So, I did all that. I pre-ordered it as soon as pre-orders were live. And all this just for an unfinished game, a rushed story, and no additional content. Do you know how annoying that is? I mean, and it takes an entire year. It took an entire year for them to even come out and say, oh, there isn't going to be any additional content to the game. All we have is a PC port, and that's the only thing that we've gotten since the game has released. I mean, come on, I tried to be as delusional as I possibly could, but I can't deny what the people outright said. They said we're not getting any more content, so we're not. But holding on to hope for that long, do you know how irritating that was? All of these loose plot ends that won't be tied up in DLC, meaning that they'll most likely be crammed in the third installment. In the third game, they're all going to be crammed in, leading to another rushed, unfinished story. And not only that, not only do we have so many loose ends just from this game alone, not only do we know we're going to deal with Doc Ock again next game, we're going to deal with Green Goblin. Now we know that Chameleon's here. Now we know that Carnage is on the loose. We have all of these loose ends, and on top of all that, you introduce Cindy Moon at the end of the game. So now, what this is most likely seeming to be is going to be a game focused on Peter, Miles, and Cindy Moon. You could hardly balance out a game with just the two Spider people. And I love Cindy Moon. I'm fine with her being here. But you could hardly balance out a game with two Spider people. Now you add a third one. Alright? Now you have to split the story between Miles, Peter, and Cindy. And this game was already heavily centered around Peter. Miles' story was a little lackluster. Alright? He didn't have that much to do. And they could have went further than what they did, and I'm sure that Brian and Inter planned to do so, but they just didn't have the time. So now you're going to have even less time with even more to wrap up. And even if you did give them all the time in the world, do you know how difficult it's going to be to put all of that, to cram all of that into one game? And this is really just sad to see. It really is. And I understand we dealt with hackers a lot. I mean, there's entire playthroughs of early version of the Wolverine game you could search up on YouTube. I get it. And like I said, this isn't me putting the blame on anyone because I honestly don't know who to put the blame on. But what I do know is as a consumer of this franchise, as a consumer of this game, I'm very upset and just disappointed, I guess. Because, I mean, what do we have? It took them months to give us New Game Plus and to be able to change the time of day. Something that you should get on launch. Okay? I mean, we waited that long just to get the game because they announced the game, 2 or 3 years before it was even released? The teaser came out when? Like 2020, 2021? Game didn't release until late 2023, pushing 2024. And we don't even get New Game Plus. We don't even get that on the launch day. We had to wait months to be able to change the tendril color after the game. You were stuck as the anti-venom symbiote. I mean, you could wear a symbiote suit with white tendrils so it just wouldn't look right. It took this long, and that was already major red flags, like as of the development of the game and the time spent, you know? And it sucks because I love Spider-Man so much, but I mean, realistically, I don't know anymore. I mean, Spider-Man 2, you know, us Spider-Man fans wanted it to be Game of the Year and things of that nature, but it was doomed to fail. It really was. And I mean, let's just look at everything. Insomniac wanted to do something different, but let's be real, it was such an obvious plot twist that no one was surprised by it. I mean, with all the promotional material, they basically told you that Harry Osborn was going to be Venom. They told you without saying it. So the major plot twist of the game was so obvious. I mean, as soon as Harry was introduced, we knew he was going to be Venom. And I mean, as soon as he was introduced in the last game. He was introduced in the last game in a tank filled with symbiote just floating. Obviously, he's going to be Venom. And you outright dismissed that Eddie Brock could be Venom. So, boom, we know he's not going to be Venom. And let me tell you what you would have benefited from having Eddie as Venom, and stop trying to be different. We don't always need to be different. And like now with comic book stuff specifically, everyone's trying so hard to be different that if you stay closer to the source material, then you would stand out. So much stuff strays so far away from the source material that if we had a movie today that was one-to-one with the source material, it would stand out so much above anything else that we got. And I understand the times change, you need to evolve and change. Some things are outdated. If you just made Eddie Brock Venom in this game instead of trying to be different, then you wouldn't need to dedicate so much time of this game trying to build up Peter's and Harry's relationship. You wouldn't need to spend so much time trying to convince us how close they are. You wouldn't have to spend so much time trying to make us believe that these guys are so close. And I mean, they did succeed with that, yeah. Harry and Peter did seem to have a genuine friendship, which also kind of stabs you in the back when you're trying to make Harry the big bad. Because you make it seem like these guys are so close that they'd never be pit against each other. So when you do attempt to put them against each other, it just doesn't work. Because this conflict is something that they wouldn't have realistically. I mean, Harry learned that Peter was Spider-Man and they just talked it out. There was no ill will. There was no, oh, you kept this a secret from me for so long. There was none of that. They talked it out. Every problem they had, they've talked it out. All right? And you mean to tell me that all of a sudden, Harry just, what? No longer has the ability to do this? Oh, right. He doesn't. Because the symbiote controls him. He doesn't control it. Another reason you should have had Eddie Brock. Alright? Because I don't want to get too far into this because I feel like I can make it its own video. But the symbiote was not even... The symbiote is meant to... The user is who determines what the symbiote is like, basically, is what I'm trying to get to. Like, the symbiote is half. The user is the other half. The user makes up the symbiote. The symbiote makes up the user. They are parts of a whole. They're parts of each other. So in this game, you made the symbiote just one big bland alien. Alright? You made the symbiote have its own motives and completely take control of its host, to the point where the host means nothing. At this point, a random civilian could have gotten their hands on the symbiote, and they could have been Venom. Anyone in this game could have been Venom, and that's not what Venom is. That's not what he should be. And like, the character of Venom was completely assassinated in this game. As a whole, I'm just very disappointed. I really am. As a Spider-Man fan, as a fan of these games, I am. But yeah, I've already been yapping, so if you like it, then like it. Thank you. If you stuck around this far, thank you. Feel free to subscribe. Let me know how you guys feel in the comment section. And goodbye.